This Saturday in college football is loaded like a baked potato. And when I say loaded, I mean with all the FIXINS. Know what I'm talking about? I am Breeze. I am 1/3 of the Somebody Said podcast. And this is my weekly college football pick 'em show. Week 5. Let's roll. This is, and all Somebody Said sports content is brought to you by the Red Lady Run Punch and Window to Wall Solutions. Disclaimer, Pickens was just for fun. I don't gamble. If you gamble, that's your business. That got nothing to do with me. You're watching this on YouTube. As always, I just need you to do me two things. I just need you to hit that like. I need you to hit that subscribe. If you choose to turn on the alerts, I'd appreciate it. I'm going to leave that up to you, though. Do what you want to with it. Follow us on socials. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We are on Twitter. You can find us at Somebody Said Podcast. You can tell I'm mixing it up. I got papers. I feel official. Let's see how it works. I don't know if I'll roll with it. As always, these games I want to talk about, these are my favorite games of the week. These are the games I'm going to be watching. If I'm watching them, then naturally I'm going to encourage you to watch them. As always, I'm going to give you 5 games in 10 minutes. Let's go ahead. Let's make it happen. Before we do that, really quickly, just want you to know I went 4-1 again last week. 3 weeks, I'm 12-3. If you're not paying attention, if you don't like what I'm giving you, I just don't understand what you're doing. You let me know. You explain to me why you wouldn't want picks from a guy who's hitting 12-3 in the last 3 weeks of pick'ems. Anyway, let's get into the games. I'm going to breeze through the first 4 games. I'm really, really hyped about the last game. I'm going to save the best for last, and we'll see why. Game number 1 this week. Number 23 LSU was getting 6.5 points at Missouri. Tiger on Tiger violence. I usually don't promote that. This one might get ugly. Let's start with Missouri. I'll start with home teams first. Have you watched them since they had that 61-yard walk-off field goal win against Kansas State? Probably not. That's okay. If you haven't noticed, Luther Burden is completely going off. That's a true freshman, former 5-star wide receiver up there in Missouri. 5 touchdowns, greater than 100 yards per game, 15 yards a catch. This is the same Ole Miss team the same LSU team that just gave up 55 points to Ole Miss. Speaking of LSU, speaking of giving up 55 points to Ole Miss, what happened to that defense? What happened? Can somebody please put out an APB on Harold Perkins? He was supposed to be the greatest linebacker in the country this year. He's pretty much non-existent. They need to find him and find him quickly. They're giving up a ton of points. Though they're giving up a ton of points, they're scoring a bunch of points because Jaden Daniels is playing as good as any quarterback in the SEC. For that reason, I am going to take LSU. I do think points get scored. I just think LSU is going to score more points. And Pump, they're both rolling with me on LSU. Game number 2, number 11, Alabama is getting 2.5 when I originally pulled these numbers at Texas A&M. Yes, they're going to be in College Station. There's so many games this season between ranked and unranked teams that are super hyped, and it feels like 2 ranked teams. This is one of those games. Home team is Texas A&M. They have the number 5 total defense in the country. They have the number 20 rushing defense in the country. Casually been manhandling everybody they've played since they played Miami in week 2. If my mind serves me correctly, they haven't given up an offensive touchdown in the last few weeks. It's pretty good. Alabama, while Bama isn't the old Bama, they're still Bama. So they're still really good. Their defense is really, really stout. I mentioned Ole Miss scoring 55 points against LSU. Alabama held them to 10. That defense is really, really good. The question is, will they be able to run the ball? Jalen Milroe seems to be settling in at quarterback. I think he's settled in enough to win this game, but I don't love the pick. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't love this pick because 2 years ago, Alabama went into College Station. They lost to a bad Texas A&M team. Last year, they barely beat a very not good Texas A&M team. This team, this version of the Aggies are better than the last 2 years. Again, I don't love this pick, but I got to pick somebody, right? Unc is rolling with Bama. Pump is rolling with Texas A&M. A little Jimbo love from those old Florida State days. Game number 3, 15, Washington State is going on the road to UCLA. I am not going to stop talking about the Pac-12. I'm simply not going to do it. I think they're the best conference in the league, in the nation, playing some fantastic football, best quarterback collective of any conference in the country. But when a ranked team especially is not favored on the road against an unranked team, It's going to make the antennas go up. Where was your antennas when they were stealing my stuff? Washington State, they beat Oregon State, who I was really, really high on. Nobody paid attention to that game. Well, I'll say not enough people paid attention. More importantly, not enough people are paying attention to Cam Ward, the quarterback for Washington State. He is playing as good as anybody in the country, maybe not named Caleb Williams or Michael Penix. Really, really high standards. Right after them, maybe, Cam Ward is right there. This week on the Somebody Said podcast, I named him as my third favorite Heisman winner in terms of odds right now. UCLA is coming back home after a loss at Utah. Their offense could not get anything going. They're starting a true freshman quarterback in Dante Moore at quarterback, and there's just going to be growing pains with that. Is to be expected. I think the growing pains consist a little bit. Their offense will look better this week. I think Washington State, Cam Ward, they're just going to score too much. Apparently, Unc and Pump, they feel the same way I do. They're rolling with Washington State. Game number 4, number 24, Fresno State, getting 5.5 points at Wyoming. Most people don't pay a lot of attention to the Mountain West. That's okay. These two teams are battling for the top of that conference, though. Fresno State is ranked. They deserve to be because they are being dominant right now. They're beating everybody that stepped up in front of them. Wyoming has put up greater than 30 points in every game except one. That one game was against Appalachian State. Appalachian State plays a very physical brand of football. They still got the win, though. Wyoming is not a bad team. In this one, I'm taking Fresno State. Unc and Pump taking Wyoming. Maybe I continue to create a little more distance between me and the guys. Seems like it's on the table for me. We'll see how it goes. Game of the week. One of the biggest games so far in this season. Arguably the biggest game so far in this season. Number 12, Oklahoma plays number 3, Texas. It's the Red River Showdown. I'm always excited about rivalries. I'm extra excited about this one. This game means something again, and that's the way college football is supposed to be. This game is supposed to be a big deal. This game is supposed to get a lot of eyes watching it. It will do it this weekend. This game is absolutely massive. I can't overstate how big this game is. I can't overstate how excited I am about it. This is the 119th consecutive time these two teams have faced each other. It's a lot of football, a lot of points, a lot of games. I'm hyped. Shout out to the Texas State Fair. I hope the people out there get some really good brisket. I heard the funnel cakes are fantastic. I'm jealous of everybody who's going to be there. I said last week it's too early to talk about playoff implications. It's still too early, but you have to. The winner of this game will be the favorite to win the Big 12 and will then be a strong favorite to make the college football playoff. This game is a huge deal. Let's start with Oklahoma. Dillon Gabriel, I don't know if you've been paying much attention. He's lighting it up. He's 8th in the country in passing yards, 4th in the country in passing touchdowns, 8th in QBR, and he's completing 75% of his passes. Brent Venables, that defense is now in year 2 of his system. They look like it. They look like they know what they're doing now. The linebackers, Danny Stutzman, is flying all over the place. They're 4th in opponent points per game, 7th in third down conversion percent, tied for 1st in the nation on interceptions. Turnovers in a game like this can be a really, really big deal. Texas has arguably looked the best in the country to this point. Also, on the Somebody Said podcast, if you haven't watched the video, we talked about who's really number 1 in college football right now. The AP poll says it's Georgia. None of us on the show, including the Bean Sprout who joined us this week, thought it was Georgia. Me personally, and Unc actually, both said it was Texas. If Texas is really number 1, huge deal. They have the 12th best average margin of victory in the country. It's pretty good. That's pretty good, especially considering that they've already played a conference game against a ranked opponent in Kansas. Oh, yeah, and they just happen to also play Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Their defense is getting it done. They're top 10 in opponents' points per game. They are top 10 in yards per game allowed. They are top 10 in points per play. They are top 10 in third down conversion, and top 10 in red zone scoring. So you're not getting a lot of yards, you're not scoring a lot of points, and if you somehow find yourself in the red zone, at best you're selling for 3. We might be in for a defensive squabble in the Red River Showdown. Sign me up. I'm with it. Sign me up. This game, in my opinion, is going to come down to who can make the big play. The matchup I'm watching most, Oklahoma's safeties are super aggressive. They're really good. They're super aggressive, and they're ball hawks. I mentioned they're tied for first in the country in interceptions. Can Sark use that aggressiveness against them? He was able to isolate Caleb Downs in that game against Alabama. Can he isolate those safeties, catch them looking in the backfield, catch them being a little bit greedy? Iowa State was able to do it on a couple of plays. I think Sark is better than Iowa State in what they're doing on offense. I'm going to take Texas. Sorry, Cam. I apologize, bro. I got to go with Texas, and I think they're just going to hit on one more big play than Oklahoma will do, and I think that'll be enough to be the difference in this game. Pump is rolling with Texas as well. Uncle's got love for those Sooners. He's rolling with Oklahoma. Quick recap. As always, got the graphic. Shout out to Dre. Draco on the drone going crazy for lacing us with the edit. As you can see, with the asterisk that he's got next to the names, I'm taking LSU. I got Alabama. I got Washington State. I got Fresno State. And I got, okay, cool, hook 'em. I got the Texas Longhorns in the Red River Showdown. As always, appreciate you guys coming through. Hit the comments. Let me know who you're taking. And as always, go football.